Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel. My name is Ngozi. If you are new to the channel, you are most welcome. Don't forget to subscribe. Click on that little notification bell so you never miss an upload. It's a family-based channel, so we cover a very wide spectrum of topics. Today, we are talking about verbal aggression, verbal assault. Now, there has been a scientific experimental study that was done where you take two plants, and you can try this at home. It would be quite fun to do with your kids if you've got children, obviously, but you could do it yourself. And, you get these two plants, you keep them side by side in the same conditions, watering them in adequate sunlight. But the only thing you do differently from one plant to the other is you curse at the other plant, keep shouting at the other plant. I promise you this is a fact. You keep screaming at this plant. Any negative word, any negative comment, you're evil, die, you're silly, anything negative, just say it at this plant and typically shout. So you've got to really yell at this plant, okay? Now you will find that that plant in the study would wilt, bend over and die way before the other one does. You say to me, well, both of them die anyway, so what's the point? Well, good question. The point is, one lives a lot longer than the other one. It's the same for people. Once upon a time it was said that sticks and stones may break my bones, but words will never hurt me. Now we know in our community today that that is not true. We are all aware of how social media can, fuel verbal aggression, and an individual or young people, as we know, have been at the receiving end of bullying online, and it has resulted in, sadly, some of these individuals ending their lives. So we do understand as a community that words are very powerful and they do have consequences, and it is scientifically proven as well. Even our choice of words. I had read that if you say something that has a negative word in it, turn it around and say something positive, the brain processes it, or the listener's brain processes it a lot better than it would do if it heard the same statement in a negative way. So say, for instance, I want to say, I don't like the dark. The brain has a lot more difficulty processing that particular statement than, say, if I said, I prefer the light. This is a scientific fact. In addition to this point, negative words spoken with anger do more damage to the brain. It is also said in a study that these negative words spoken with anger send alarm messages through the brain, interfering with the decision-making centers in the frontal lobe, and increases a person's propensity to act irrationally. These negative words trigger increased activity in the amygdala, which is the fear center of the brain, and it can cause a partial shutdown of the reasoning and the logic centers in the frontal lobes. These negative words can make people feel tense, nervous, and even fearful as they attempt to figure out what you want and how to respond to you. It causes the listener to experience confusion, conflict, defensiveness, and even sometimes low self-esteem. So this is something you want to consider when dealing with your children, or dealing with a loved one, or anyone for that matter. Perhaps it's not something that you pay attention to, but it is important that when you're dealing with someone, you don't want them to experience death like that flower. Yes? And when we say death, I don't want to over dramatize it, that you speak to someone, they slump and they die. No, it happens over time. And that does happen where you can have a verbal altercation with an individual, and it has happened many a time before. There was a verbal altercation, and someone who, say, wasn't even in the best, state of health would have a stroke after a verbal altercation or a heated argument and die, or have a heart attack and die, or get a really bad message delivered by a phone call or, face to face, and have a heart attack as a result of hearing words. Yes? So it is proven that words can kill. But while that is the ultimate, situation, and might not be something that happens frequently, you do have that happen to an individual in different ways. So you could lose your way, you could lose your ability to focus because you have a negative individual in your life. You could once upon a time be an individual who was very bubbly and had a twinkle in your eye, but because you are now associated with an individual who is negative and nasty and speaks to you with negative words, calls you idiot, you're stupid, you're this, you're that, you know, stuff like that. When you listen to people who say that and use the cuss words, it's funny because when you watch a movie, it says it on there: foul language, strong language, you know, dirty language. Yet we don't seem to understand that there is a reason that this is put on there, you know, because they have an impact on the listener. They do have an impact on the listener. We've proven that. So when you have someone in your life who speaks to you this way, is condescending, has a negative tone, when you pick up a call from this individual, somehow it goes from zero to complicated. You don't even know why or how. You're being as straightforward as you can. You're always tensed up. Yes, they're having access to that part of your brain, you know, the amygdala, which is the center for decision making and also for processing fear. And once that area has been tampered with, you know, or triggered by this experience, you are prone to acting abnormally. I did mention once before in a video how I almost married a narcissist. I think I'm a confident person. I think that I get along with individuals. I think that I'm likable. I think that I am just the regular person, as is the next person. Nothing exceptionally unique and nothing exceptionally terrible. I just feel like I'm normal, right? And, you know, I know how to carry myself. But I got involved with this man, and within visiting him and within a space of 2 weeks, I completely lost myself. I didn't even recognize myself. And this is one of the things you'll notice with women who are in relationships with someone who's always cutting them down, you know, speaking negatively to them. They once upon a time thought they were beautiful and thought that they were, you know, had high aspirations and, you know, they had great qualities about themselves. And these narcissists, you know, take them in, and then sort of compliment them on those things, but would be the very things that they start to cut down and, you know, shred off the individual. And then before you realize it, this person is no longer who they thought they were. So they die. And that's what I'm trying to speak about. So it's not just, you know, shouting at someone, they drop down and they die. No, it's talking to them negatively. And over a course of time, this pattern and the pathway of those words into an individual's brain causes them to change, to lose their way, lose their personality, lose who they were, their sense of direction, belief in who they think that they could be, and so on and so forth. You know, you start to die. So if you think about it, it's not so much dying on the spot. It's more a case of what is dead while you are still living. And you have many individuals around us in our world, in our communities, who are like that because they have someone in their world who's that negative, who uses volatile words, who's verbally aggressive, verbally, you know, assaultive, and so on. This is something you want to consider when thinking about the friendships in your life, the relationships in your life, all sorts of connections, whether it be at work, at school, at home, or even family. One of the most complicated ones to navigate is family. They're used to you. They talk to you the way they want. They feel that they are entitled to say what they want, when they want, and how they want. But you don't have to put up with that. You really do not have to put up with that. If you communicate with an individual that you are not okay with how they are speaking to you, and they carry on in that pattern, then the onus is on you to reevaluate that relationship. Even scripturally, the Bible says that if a brother offends you, you go to them and you say you did this. And if they didn't listen, you bring someone else and say, look, what's going on? And if that didn't work, then probably bring a village. And if that didn't work, you've been given 3 goes. It says treat them like an infidel. Means move on, move on. Don't be fooled into sitting down and experiencing this sort of treatment, this sort of killing behavior, slaughter behavior, and thinking that you will do any better by remaining in those very poor conditions like that plant. You will bend, you will wither, and God forbid, you might die. You don't want that. So this is something I wanted to share with you. I have had some relationships in the past, whether it's friendships or whatever, but I have had some connections in the past where I've had individuals who have been incredibly negative. Their tone is off. I get a text message and I might be having a wonderful time, but when that text message comes in and you see the name, you know, you dip. Who's that? You need to think about those moments. Why does this person have that effect on you? And what are you going to do about that relationship? It isn't healthy. Ultimately, it takes away from you and it takes away from those who are close to you. So if you've got children, a husband, you know how it is. You go to work and some nasty person, speaks to you a certain way. You hold it together while you're there and you say to yourself, you can do this. But when you come home, you're pawning off on your husband, you're pawning off on your kids, you answer them harshly and they're looking at you thinking, what have I done? I mean, was it just that thing I did? Right? Now, what's happened is this individual has had that level of impact to hit you the way they have with words, and it's gone on to spread into your family like a disease and reproduce the same effect with your loved ones. So it is very serious. It isn't something that you just take lightly. You should take it very seriously. Identify individuals in your world who are verbally toxic, and consider reevaluating those relationships. Thank you so very much for watching. Let me know in the comments down below how you have handled, family in this area. I'd like to talk on that because I have a few stories. Let me know how you've handled friendships. Have you lost friendships along the way because you changed, who you were and, you decided, I don't want to put up with this anymore. Let me know in the comments what your experiences are and we'll carry on the chat there. Thanks again for watching. I'll see you again soon in the next video. Until then, have a good morning, a good afternoon, a good evening, a good night, wherever you are in the world. Bye-bye.